Okay, everyone. Here we are, Act 3, Scene 2. More comic relief with the Three Musketeers, Caliban, Stephano, Trinculo. Just again, Stephano and Trinculo are servants. I think Trinculo is some kind of jester. We know about Caliban. Stephano is sort of the ringleader of this group, and he's the one who plans to be the lord of the island should they successfully succeed in their plot to kill Prospero. And Caliban is the inside information source on how to do that. So the purpose of this scene, and here's a nice little picture of the red-faced and drunken Stephano, I imagine. So, like I said, this is a scene that's mainly for comic relief. It's also to connect with this motif of the island being a place where different roles can get reversed. So here you see people of that servant class actually on their way towards, or at least in their minds, positions of more power and authority. So this theme of things getting toppled and reversed and confused. And then there's confusion. Let me go with that too. The scene also does a great job of this wonderful dramatic situation in which a lot of confusion gets stirred up. And so you're the reader. It's going to be a little bit hard for you to see it play out the way it would theatrically, but I'll try to help you see some of this. And we're looking at a device called dramatic irony. And you probably have heard what dramatic irony is, or you definitely have an understanding of what it is, which is when the audience knows something that the characters do not. And Ariel steps in, and she's invisible to Stephano, Trinculo, and Caliban, and she does some of her trickster stuff. So there's some carrying on, and they're getting a little bit tipsy at this point. And if we look around line 13 or so, Stephano says, "My man monster hath drowned his tongue in sack." Now, sack is a term to referring to liquor, wine, which I guess used to be stored in sacks, or flasks were made of animal skins back in the day. So this is actually a metonymy, when something is referring to another thing which it is closely associated with. Sack being closely associated with liquor, it takes the place of the term liquor. It's a type of the metaphor, metonymy. Calls him the man monster. And then he goes on this: "The sea cannot drown me. I swam ere I could recover the shore, 35 leagues off and on. By this light thou shalt be my lieutenant, monster, or my standard." Your lieutenant, if you list, he's no standard. Will not run, monsieur monster, nor go neither, but you'll lie like dogs and yet say nothing neither. Mooncalf, speak once in thy life, if thou beest a good mooncalf. And then Caliban, quite submissive to Lord Stephano, says, "How does thy honor? Let me lick thy shoe. I'll not serve him. He's not valiant." So Caliban has immediately identified Stephano as the ringleader and Trinculo as the lesser of the two. Caliban's already pledging his loyalty, and so much that he'll lick his shoe. And Stephano, mind you, has called him the man monster and again the moon calf. So more clues as to this sort of deformed, freakish nature of Caliban. And Trinculo responds, "Thou liest, most ignorant monster. I am encased in just a constable. Why, thou debauched fish, thou! Was there ever a man, a coward, that hath drunk so much sack as I today? Wilt thou tell a monstrous lie, being but half a fish and half a monster?" So I think this is a little bit of a, there's some playful insulting going on here. And Caliban says, "Oh, he's mocking me. Are you going to let him do that to me?" And he's speaking to Stephano, Caliban is. And then Stephano says, "Trinculo, keep a good tongue in your head. If you prove a mutineer, the next tree, as in I'll hang you from the next tree. The poor monster's my subject, and he shall not suffer indignity." So Caliban's getting some protection from Stephano in a way. "I thank my noble lord. Wilt thou be pleased to hearken once again to the suit I made to thee? Marry will I kneel and repeat it. I will stand, and so shall Trinculo." So here we're gonna get Caliban reiterating his idea to take over the island, take it from Prospero. And so just as Caliban is about to explain the plot, Ariel comes in invisible, but not for the audience, and starts interfering with their communication. And Caliban begins, "As I told thee before, I am subject to a tyrant, a sorcerer, that by his cunning hath cheated me of the island." And then Ariel is ventriloquizing. I think that's a verb. And a ventriloquist is, if you don't know, someone who is able to mimic a voice of somebody else without, you often think of the puppet master who can make the puppet speak without moving his own mouth or her own mouth. Ariel is mimicking the voices of all of these characters. So when she says, "Thou liest," to Caliban, she is trying to sound like Trinculo. And Caliban falls for it. Says, "Thou liest, thou jesting monkey, thou! I would my valiant master would destroy thee. I do not lie." So Caliban thinks that Trinculo has accused him of lying. And then Stephano does too. "Trinculo, if you trouble him any more in his tale, by this hand I will supplant some of your teeth." Punch in the face. And then Trinculo says, "Why, I said nothing." And Stephano says, "Mum, then, and no more. Proceed." And Caliban carries on, says, "I say, by sorcery he got this isle. From me he got it. If thy greatness will revenge it on him, for I know thou darest, but this thing dare not, that's most certain, thou shalt be lord of it, and I'll serve thee. How now shall this be compassed? Canst thou bring me to the party? Yea, my lord, I'll yield him thee asleep, where they mayst knock a nail into his bed." So, and then Ariel says, "Thou liest, thou canst not. What a pied ninny this, thou scurvy patch." And again he's mad at Trinculo for calling him a liar, when in fact it was Ariel. And then Stephano then chastises Trinculo some more. "Stop interrupting the monster. I'll make a stockfish of thee." And then Trinculo's, "What do you mean I didn't do anything? Didst thou say he lied?" And then Ariel again says, "Thou liest." And then Stephano says, "Do I so? Take thou that." And he hits Trinculo. And so here Ariel has said, "Thou liest," in the voice of Trinculo. And Stephano thinks that Trinculo is challenging him. And then he actually whacks him. "As you like this, give me the lie another time." "I did not give thee a lie. Out of your wits and bearing too a pox o' your bottle. This can sack and drinking do. It's like we're drunk and we're turning on each other, etc. And Caliban's laughing. And then Caliban says, beat him enough. After a little time, I'll beat him too. So you can imagine the number of ways that the scene could play out on stage. There's a lot of opportunity for physical comedy, and so it's good stuff. Now, here Caliban presents the battle plan, saying that Prospero is usually taking his nap around this time of day, and in the afternoon he's sleeping. There thou mayst brain him, having first seized his books, or with a log batter his skull, or punch him with a stake, or cut his wizen with thy knife. But remember first to possess his books, for without them he's but a sot, as I am, nor hath not one spirit to command. So Caliban understands, the certain vulnerability that Prospero has when he's not able to wield his magic with his book, etc. And Caliban's pretty upfront and blunt about, you're just going to smash his head. And he goes on to say, the beauty of his daughter, he himself calls her a nonpareil. I never saw a woman, but only Sycorax, my dame, and she as far surpasseth Sycorax, as greatest does least. So, we can't imagine Sycorax was very attractive, and of course there's several accounts suggesting Miranda is quite attractive. So, that's a neat line, as greatest does to least. So we're comparing apples and oranges. I don't know if that's even the right metaphor. But the Caliban essentially is saying, okay, you kill Prospero, and you're going to get the lady as well of the island. And Stephano is, he's sold. He's ready to do this. Now, Ariel's had her fun with them. She's stirred him up a little bit with her little pranks, and she's also got some information that she's going to be able to take back to Prospero. And she continues to play music on a tabor and pipe. I think a tabor might be some kind of drum. I need to look that up again. In fact, I'll do that real quick. Yeah, so there's a tabor for you. Just your basic drum. So Ariel's kind of talented here. Let me get back here to, there we are. Ariel's pretty talented, being able to play both instruments. So there's this sort of music wafting through the island, and it's having almost a hypnotic effect on Stephano and Trinculo. And in a way, Stephano, they see it sort of kind of an ominous way, as if there's some sort of haunting going on causing all this noise. And Caliban here gives them a clue as to the proper attitude to have when it comes to the mysteries encountered on the island. And Caliban's message is very eloquent here. And he says, be not afeard. The isle is full of noises, sounds and sweet airs that give delight and hurt not. Sometimes 1,000 twangling instruments will hum about mine ears, and sometimes voices that if I then had waked after long sleep will make me sleep again. And then in dreaming, the clouds methought would open and show riches, ready to drop upon me, that when I waked, I cried to dream again. It's a wonderful piece of poetry here. And I think it really does conjure up this wonderful feeling that anybody has experienced when you wake up from a dream that's just so exciting and wonderful and satisfying, and that maybe you can even drift back into that dream and experience that again. But then when you wake up, it starts to fade, and the island seems to hold that particular kind of magic for those who are open to it.